Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our podcast. It's our first podcast on the channel, Last Awakening Warriors. My name is Jonathan, and we're here with Joshua David. Of course, if you've been watching the channel already, you know Joshua David from his earlier videos. And we're here today to discuss a few things the Father's put on our hearts. A lot of stuff in the news today, Josh. What do you think?
I agree. There is always a lot of stuff in the news.
Not good stuff, right?
Do they ever tell you anything good? Oh, yeah.
No.
Dayline does. It's like the last 5 minutes of the half-hour show. They tell you something nice.
Yeah, exactly. ABC World News, David Murrell, whatever he is, like the last couple of seconds of the newscast, they show something that they deem good anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Half the time, it's not nothing special about that.
America's strong.
Absolutely. America's strong. Not too strong. But now today, what I was referring to specifically, we have a fire today, and people are absolutely losing their minds. It's like Mother Teresa got shot in the head today. Notre Dame is burning to the ground, and people are in tears. They're acting like this is the worst thing that's ever came to the planet. And I was just seeing myself, the Father was showing me the symbolism, mm-hmm. and how people are so much more concerned with the natural than the spiritual. That basically people's beliefs are completely wrapped up in everything spiritual or everything natural, and they don't get what Christ said all the time.
I agree.
What do you think about that, man?
I totally agree. The idea that, it's been one of the flaws of man since the beginning. They've always wanted to worship something natural since the beginning. So,
right.
Because they have eyes and they can perceive in this, what we call reality, then it's easier for them to grasp what they can actually physically see versus those things that are spiritual.
Absolutely. And where is their faith? If you can see something, touch something, smell anything to do with our human senses, then where is there any faith to be had there?
There isn't.
That's what I want you to say.
There isn't any faith. None.
Exactly. You got to believe in something that you can't see. That you can't see. What people don't understand is that the Father is unseen. He's never been seen.
The invisible.
Christ said he's never been seen. The invisible.
Yep.
That's right. Even Christ said he's never been seen. We could go into a whole bunch of stuff with that. People saying in the Old Testament, but we won't do that right now.
You think people are losing their mind over the buildings? Wait until you tell them those things.
Right. Are you feel like dodging stones today, or how deep you want to go with this?
It don't matter to me. I'm down for whatever. We can go as deep as you want.
Yeah, right. Then let's see. Since we were talking about the separation and the difference between the natural and all the symbolism and the things that people put faith in, which there's no mistake that this would happen to a Catholic church, right?
Yep.
Not trying to beat anybody up. So if you get salty, that's not my fault. You're taking the
offense.
Offense. You're taking the offense to what I'm saying. I'm not putting it on you. You're accepting it. It had to have been a Catholic church. For starters, if you're going to look at churches that that push symbolism and worship all kinds of stuff, it has to be them. I mean, they worship Mary. They worship all kinds of statues. They worship anything that has been deemed religious. They'll worship it.
Well, not just them, but
no, the church as a whole is getting worse all the time.
Well, all religions. I would say all religions are just as guilty as doing the same thing.
Absolutely. But the fact that this has been brought to attention of mine and yours today, I'd like to look at some scripture where we're pointing out the difference between the flesh and the spirit. You got any of those on hand?
Is there anything particular you are looking at or thinking about?
Well, let's talk about Jesus, Yeshua, first. He said many a time, I'm going to talk for a second while you try to pull up some of those where he was talking about not to follow him as in Jesus or the man, the flesh, but to follow Christ, which was the Father in him, and point out some of these here differences to the way things have been taught and what the Father is actually saying through Christ. Right, Joshua has found the scripture. Sorry about if you noticed the jump cut. We apologize. Joshua has found the scripture. He's going to go ahead and give it. And listen, if you have eyes to see and if you have ears to hear, please hear and see what the word of truth is about to say. Because this is very, very important. This explains it. If you're willing to see and hear what it's saying, it is explaining how we are not to be looking at Jesus the man, not to be looking at any flesh and worshiping it, but what is within the man. And Christ is about to tell you right here. Go ahead, Joshua.
Okay, so it says in John 14:9, Jesus replied, "Philip, I have been with you all this time, and still you do not know me. Anyone who has seen me has seen the Father. How can you say, 'Show us the Father'?" Verse 10. Do you not believe that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me? The words I say to you, I do not speak on my own. Instead, it is the Father dwelling in me, performing his works. And 11. Believe me that I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. Or at least believe on the account of the works themselves.
At least believe in that. At least believe in something, right? Now, again, who did he say was in him? Who did Christ say, I am in who?
He is in the Father, and the Father is in him.
And the Father is in him. So the problem I run into, Joshua, that I get talking to a lot of religious folk, right?
Yep.
And I have religious folk all around me, really. And when you start talking about how you have Christ in you and that you are indeed Christ to the nations, Christ to the rest of the people around you, I'm not Christ. I'm not Christ. Listen, they're so skewed when it comes to their belief system and the way they perceive things because of the generation after generation of false teaching. How is it that you handle the people that you talk to and the belief systems are like that?
I try not to handle them at all. I don't, because if they can't get past that, it's not about physical things. Like all this, nothing in that we're supposed to be believing in is a physical thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, when the word says that all this is going to pass away, then why are you trying to put your faith in a physical person?
Absolutely.
Because
it goes back to
all things physical will pass away. The only thing that's going to be left is the invisible. What you can't see with these natural eyes.
Yep, spiritual. That's all that's left. That's all that's of any value. We put value in everything, like the people, that they feel like they've lost something just so wonderful with the Notre Dame burning down. And it's something physical. It was bound to happen. All this physical stuff is going to go away. Even down to your very flesh. Everybody dies, right?
Yep.
Everybody's flesh dies.
Yep.
And so to get so caught up on the physical And why?
Because the flesh itself is sin.
Absolutely. It is. It is. It's our sin suit.
Yep.
Our skin suit, sin suit. Yep.
But what really gets me about these people who espouse to putting the physical part of the Christ, which is Jesus, or Jesus, or Yeshua, whatever you want to call him, right?
Mm-hmm.
The people who put that man on a pedestal don't even believe the words he spoke.
Absolutely.
And the reason why they don't believe the words he spoke is because they made the physical part of him the God. That he's like, that's going to be who reigns and governs everything on this earth. And that's why they don't believe what he said in verse 12, which is, very truly I tell you, whoever believes in me, and the word in there, if you go look it up, it actually means what is within him, not actually the person, it's what's inside of him. It means penetration into the thing inside of him. Whoever believes in me, whoever believes in me will do the works that I have been doing. That's one. Now, they believe you can do some of the works that he's been doing, but they don't even espouse to all the works that he just said that you're going to be doing. And then they will do even greater things than these. Greater. We're going to do greater than anyone he did. Now, they absolutely 100% reject this, even though Christ said himself. Jesus, the one they believe in, spoke those things with the Christ that was inside him, who was the Father and the Son. He said that, and then they don't even believe that. Because they don't believe you're Christ. They don't believe you're Jesus. He was the only one that could ever do this. No, he told us we all could do these, and then we're going to do greater because he goes to the Father.
Absolutely. And I love the things you were saying. I know that there was a noise here in the background. I don't even want you to cut that out, because what that's called, people, that's called Satan. Okay? That's called Satan. And having a fit. It's an absolute fit. And the person yelling thinks that they're upset about something else, but indeed, the spirit within them, which they're not following the right spirit. Thank you. They're not. I know them. Is upset that truth is being spoke in these four walls, and the devil can't handle that. Don't like that. The fact that this is going to go into airway and it's going to be available to millions, and if not billions of people that could possibly see it, Satan hates that. And I would just, suck it. I don't care. So we can leave that there, because that's just proof to everybody that Satan doesn't like it. Especially everybody knew I was recording, right?
Yep.
So that's what happened. I liked what you said, though, brother, that they don't believe that they are Christ. And that's the argument I get all the time.
And I'm going to just come out and say it. They don't believe they're Christ because they're not.
Yeah.
Because they haven't fully died to this world.
They haven't, and they don't know how. They literally don't believe that what he said, here's what, listen, if we don't put Jesus on the pedestal, that's ridiculous. What he was a good man. And he obeyed the Father's will.
Yes, he did.
And he loved us. No doubt. Because he didn't have to put himself through it. And he knew he
said it, the greatest love is for someone to die for their friend.
A man to lay down his life for a friend.
Yep.
Yes. No better love than a man.
That's the true love that we're supposed to have in him and in the Father.
Absolutely. Right, and he says that if we take up our cross, see, he got up on that piece of wood and he died to the flesh, literally died in the flesh.
Yep.
Right? So that the Spirit of Christ, which was within him, would move on, and that we could carry the Spirit of Christ generation after generation and spread it throughout this time here on this earth.
Yeah, that's another thing too, that the church does not want to believe that they're going to have to go and die, even though that's what happened to the 12 apostles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They listen. Did they die? They died. really nasty ways, most of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and they don't want that. They don't want to tell you, no, Jesus done it all. You don't have to do anything. Then why does he keep telling people to go take up their cross and follow him?
Take up your cross and
follow me. Come on. You know, the whole thing with if you lose your life for my name's sake, you will pick it up again.
Yep.
Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that you get to sit in a church for 1,200 years and die, and then you're going to pick it up? Or does it mean you're going to have to go out there and actually tell somebody some truths, and they're going to kill you for it?
Yep.
Because it's going to be the second one.
And we're not talking here all about physical. Listen, somebody could kill you for telling them the truth. Because trust us on this. Once people start hearing the truth, even a smidge of truth, they will absolutely lose their mind, and we've seen it happen. Me and Joshua have both seen it. We've heard testimonials of other people that
as soon as we found the truth, they won. They was coming out the woodwork to attack us. We hadn't even said anything to anybody yet, and they was attacking us.
Yeah, the persecution is real. It's tough in the streets, people. It's tough in the streets because as soon as they know, listen, and they do know. They do know. Once you receive truth, anybody that is not following the Father the right way, the way that he teaches we're supposed to follow him, and in truth, they automatically know. And they will call you every name that there is to be called.
Yeah, we're supposed to worship in spirit and in truth. What spirit? Our own?
Yeah, that's what they say.
No, it's not ours. It's not our spirit. We're supposed to deny ourselves, our own desires, our own will. And we're supposed to be doing...
Do the Father's will. The Father, and that's what Jesus did do correctly.
Yeah.
He did the Father's will.
That's what the whole point with the garden was, when he was saying, you know, if this cup would pass from me, you know, if this cup could pass from me, you know, let it go. Let it happen. But I will do your will, Father.
Yep. In other words, his flesh was scared, man. I guarantee he wasn't wanting to deal with the pain. He wasn't wanting to deal with that. Who is going to want it, right?
Nobody wants it.
No, because listen, once you see the truth, just like it says in Revelation that when David ate the scroll, and it was sweet to the mouth and bitter to the stomach, finding out the truth is liberating and is freeing, because all of a sudden you feel free from all the bondage of all these rules and all these false teachings.
Yep.
And you feel enlightened and you feel the love of the Father. But at the same time, you get this bitterness in your stomach because you're like, these lies that have been perpetrated on not only me, but the entire church for generation after generation.
Nearly 2,000 years.
And you start thinking about how you've been part of the ones that were fooled for so long. You've been part of that, part of the religious.
Which is crazy. Like that's the thing. That's the thing that kills me, because I know for myself and you and other people, you have read things in the Word, and it did not say what your denomination or what philosophy of biblical teachings you subscribe to. It said something different than that. Yeah, your doctrine.
Right.
It said something different than that. And you knew it was the Spirit that spoke to you and said that thing, whatever that truth was.
Right.
And then as soon as you go to somebody else and tell them that, bam, persecution immediately. You're a liar. You don't know what you're talking about.
Real quick, since you're going that route, go ahead and let people know how long your walk of truth has been, what sparked it, and what happened when you interacted with people with these truths at first. And how you kind of got to this.
Like, how deep back do you want to go?
Let it out, man. Just let people kind of know, who is Joshua David? How did he get here? Where he's such a heretic now, and he don't love Jesus no more, and all that.
Well, it started around 5 or 6, I believe. And I'll get into the incident that happened later in another video. But it was the first time in my life that I ever heard the Father, and he told me that if I was going to do what I was going to do at that point in time, if I would have done that, I would not have the life that he had for me.
Right.
So 5 or 6 is the first time he spoke to me. It wouldn't be like 3 years later that I actually heard him again. And he told me some things about my life. He told me I would never finish high school, and that I was going to be a rapper. And there were some incidences with that as well. I told my
God forbid, the father tell you you're not going to finish high school.
Well, actually, he told me I wouldn't finish school. Okay,
Right,
so let's get in how that actually worked, and I'll get into that a little bit. So the first thing was I set my parents down at the kitchen table. I'm about 8 and a half, 9 years old, and I tell them, "Look, this is what the Father told me, that I wasn't going to finish high school, so there's no point in me going. I'm 8 years old at this point.
Yeah, it's going over well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And two, that I was going to be a rapper.
Yeah.
The look on my mother's face was like, okay. And as soon as I said what I said, my dad just kind of flipped out on me. It was like, "No, you're going to school. You're finishing." And, basically called me and what the Father told me a lie.
Yeah.
Which became the dominant theme of any time the Father ever told me anything in my life.
Right.
As far as my family was concerned, it's a lie.
Right.
Even though all of it's come true. Just saying.
Yeah.
But so here I am. I think I was going on 12 or 13. And at this time, the Father had actually had me talk to other people besides my family. It went a lot better. Whole lot better than ever talked to my family. Whole lot better.
It's way easier to talk to people outside the family. Yes, I'm 100% with you. Yes.
So he had me talk to some people, and I knew it was him talking to me because he says, "My sheep know my voice, and another I won't listen to."
Mm-hmm.
So I always took that to heart. Like, this is him. He's the one speaking to me. It wasn't my own voice. I knew that it wasn't me talking to myself.
Right.
It was another voice. And when you have experiences when you actually hear his voice audibly outside of yourself, like someone talking specifically to you in the open, but there's no one there, then no, that the first time, a couple times that happened to me, that scared the daylights out of me. You talk about reverence, because the voice that's speaking is the Father, and it's definitely an eerie thing to hear him say the things he had to say to me in those times. Just put it this way, I wasn't doing so good in those times.
Not perfect like you, right?
Oh, no. But I think it was around 12. I knew because of reading the Word and stuff that the other prophets and stuff heard him too. And I knew that was something that I had. At a very young age, like I said, it was like 5 or 6 when it first started. That I remember it starting, I should say.
Right.
But the crazy thing is I thought everyone heard his voice. I didn't know. I thought of myself nothing special, and I still don't think I am anything special. I honestly think I'm the worst of the earth, but he sees me differently. He sees that he can take this bag of bones and actually do something with it.
Absolutely.
But So when I asked, I think I was like 14 or something, and I was talking to my mom, and I was asking her about, hearing the Father's voice and different stuff, and I was dumbfounded when she told me she can't even remember if she's ever heard the Father's voice.
Yeah.
No, just inside of her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was dumbfounded. I'm like, I never heard anybody. Everybody had always talked about, doing what the Father's will is and hearing and Him guiding them and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, well, crap, He tells me exactly what to do.
Right.
I'm like, you never hear the voice of Society tell you to do something? Nah. So, I didn't even know. I didn't even know that no one else heard Him.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, the verse says, my sheep know my voice. I hear His voice. I hear it.
Right.
I had no concept of anyone not hearing His voice ever. I was floored.
Right.
But, doing things for the Father that He's called me and has told me to do has always went really well. As far as, like, at least the person would allow me to say what He has me to say, and I believe that's because of Him. He's going to make them listen, so then they're without excuse. But
yeah, I know.
It's hard. Once I get done, like most of the time with my family, I'm a liar.
Right. I know. I could testify to the fact that your father had you tell me some things a couple times, and saying it went well. I don't know if I would call it that. Would it be the truth? Yes, the things absolutely did happen.
Where you're at now, where those things got you to now because you listened, not to me, but to what the Father was telling me to tell you.
Right. No, things had to happen, and I was told about it way ahead of time. Whether I took those things into consideration so these things didn't affect me so greatly would be a different story. but that was on me.
Right.
But no, you through you, the Father did tell me of these things to happen, and I can vouch for that 100%. Let's go a little bit later when we're coming up here to the last 5 years.
All right. What do you want to know? You gotta ask me questions, man. You gotta bring it out of me. You know, I just like gonna babble on.
Yeah, sure. The last 5 years, so you started getting into a little bit of the truther movement as far as things in the world. And how did that lead you into seeing spiritual things? Because I had a similar walk. I want to see yours, and then I'm gonna let people know.
Okay, so I don't know if I can get to the last 5 years of the truther movement because for me it actually started a while back. It actually started before 9/11. It actually started in the late 90s with the airlines. The airlines being bailed out. That is where it started with me.
Right.
Because I started noticing that every 10 years or so, the banks were bailing someone out or getting bailed out.
Absolutely.
The banks got bailed out in the 70s. The saving and loans got bailed out in the 80s. You got the airlines get bailed out in the 90s. And 2000s, we had all the bailouts.
Yeah, I worked for the banks during that time.
So that was the first thing with me, and I was like, hold on a minute. Why is the banks bailing out the airlines? Why don't they go under if we're a true capitalist society?
Right.
So then it was actually going in and seeing whether or not the society that we've been taught is capitalism is actually capitalism, and it's surely not. It's nowhere even close to capitalism.
No.
It's, I would say it's controlled capitalism, or controlled government that masquerades as capitalism.
Yep.
But that was the first thing that I noticed. That was just like, okay, this isn't the way things should have went. Even though it went that way. And then 9/11 happened, and of course that woke up a lot of people. A lot of people woke up on 9/11, regardless of what you believed happened on 9/11. It woke a lot of people up to the reality of the world that we live in.
Absolutely.
From there, do you want me to mention the name that the person that really brought me into the truther movement? Yes. Alex Jones in the along with Ron Paul. They were the two people that brought me into the deep truther movement.
Absolutely.
But all this was building up, man. All this was building up to me wanting to know the actual truth and where we actually are, and what planet, and what is this real reality that we live in versus what we've been told our whole lives.
Absolutely.
So from there, it went to all kinds of stuff. I mean, you're talking about like falling down into the rabbit hole. It just it spirals out of control, and I think at some point you actually have to get to the bottom of that hole. Yeah. And the bottom of that hole is the reality of who, if you're really looking for absolute truth, is who the sun is.
Absolutely.
So 5 years ago, I decided that the life that I was living, I didn't want to live any longer.
Mm-hmm.
And because of some unfortunate events with women in my life.
Imagine that.
Yeah. I decided that I was never going to find someone in myself, me picking the person that was going to be a viable option for me, especially for what I've been called to do. And that it's going to have to be the father that chooses the person, because just me being me and knowing who I am as being a prophet, there are weird stuff that happen to me all the time that normal people would not be able to handle.
I'll testify to that. Yeah, go ahead.
And we'll get into all that kind of stuff in other videos.
Sure.
But that was the start. So I asked, at that time, who I thought was the Father, his name, God, and I had always told people that when I was prophesying to them that I would always ask them, do they believe in God? And then I would tell them, well, this is what the Father is telling me to tell you. So when I was saying God, I wasn't referring to the God of this world, but to the Father himself.
Right.
Even though that's not his name or title.
Yeah, don't get things misconstrued. There is a difference. So, sorry about that. When he says God is not the Father, God is the name given to the person that exalted himself upon high and became God of this world, which we know is Satan.
Yeah.
We're not being blasphemous when we say these things, because it's just the truth. And I know the truth hurts some people, and the truth is aggravating to some people, because it is to us too. When we got to the truth, and I'm going to let you go ahead and finish, but you'll be able to see even when Joshua got to the truth, it's a little unsettling. But go ahead with what you're saying.
Right. So Satan's actual name isn't Satan. That was a title that was given to him because he's the adversary. He's the one that accuses us. But his actual name is Gadliel, or Gadliel. So when you shorten that down, it's the actual word God, G-O-D.
Absolutely.
So with that, I told him, look, man, I don't want this life. I don't want nothing to do with it. I want to follow you and do what you've called me to do fully. No strings attached, no games. Here I am.
Right.
Well, from that point, it was a downward spiral into basically becoming imprisoned in my house and my job.
Yep.
I got a security guard job where I'm the only person on site during the security, and I sit in a box all day for 8 hours a day, basically in prison. Thank God it wasn't 24 hours a day, because I would. I'm telling you, there are times at 8 hours, and when I was doing 16s, and there were days I'd done 20 hours, and you start getting stir crazy real quick.
Oh yeah,
sitting in a box all day and seeing no one. Like there's no one there. It's just you in the box all day by yourself.
Yeah.
So, but that gave me a lot of time to start really searching for the truth and what the truth actually is. And we've went through a number of different things. The first thing is realizing that you've been lied to. The second thing for us was realizing that the stories that we've been told weren't even told in the church, right? When we started listening to audio Bibles, there was details left out.
Tons of details.
That they would just skip. They wouldn't even put in. And the reason why is because those details make you ask questions. And once you start asking questions about those details and what those are, you find out that the reality of Christendom is a false image of man-made proportions. Is all I can say.
Right. It's a facade.
Yeah, the whole thing. So, but we kept searching. See, that's the whole thing too. Is that over the last 5 years we kept searching for the truth, and then we would find one truth. Let's say it would be, oh, maybe the Father's name is Yahweh, and we'd be on that for about a year, and then come to find out, no, his name isn't Yahweh. His name is actually the Father. And there's a reason. Yeah. There's a reason for that. It gets even deeper, but just the whole trip has been crazy. We even got into flat Earth. We got into flat Earth. Now, I do not espouse the flat Earth. I want to make that clear. I do not believe in a flat Earth as how it has been defined by the world. I believe we live on a flat plane of existence.
Yep.
Which is not the same thing as a flat Earth.
Because Earth is physical, and we're about the spiritual. Absolutely.
And I tell people that, and they still think that I believe in a flat Earth. And no, I believe in a flat plane of existence.
It's hard for people to get past the earthly realm, the physical realm.
Well, the thing is, right? Let's say someone doesn't espouse to the flat Earth, or does, or doesn't. It really doesn't matter. In your daily life, when you walk around, it's a flat Earth.
Right.
Whether it's overall round or not, your involvement in you taking a step forward is flat. To 90% of degrees. For 90% of everyone, you see flat, it is flat, you walk flat. So whether or not it's actually round or circular or whatever, none of that even matters for one. And I say that in this. Yes, you was woken up and out of your stupor over flat earth. I get it.
Yeah.
We were too. We woke up on other things as well. But you got to get to this truth. You have a piece of the truth. You need to get to the truth. There's a difference. You're starting to rebuild. Most people are starting to rebuild their whole foundation of their Christianity on flat earth. That's where it becomes a problem. Because if they can show you something, let's say they show you something that proves flat earth wrong, then your whole foundation of what you built everything on, again, is false, just like it was before, and you'll walk away from ever finding the truth because you refuse to search for it and go deeper down the rabbit hole.
Right. And you have to go deeper. You have to get to the actual truth. And which we know it's all about the Son.
It is. Every bit of it's about the Son. Every bit of it is about the Son, the Christ, the Father. Every bit of it.
Yeah.
And that's the realization you have to come to.
Yeah, and the Spirit, also the separation between flesh and spirit.
Yes.
That we are two beings in one.
Yes.
If people could realize, we were talking about the separation between the spirit man and the flesh, and it isn't like it's even close together. There's a chasm between the two, and there's so much difference between the flesh and the spirit. And when you start walking in your life as your real self, which is your spirit, that's your real self. Okay, your spirit man will live forever in one place or another, but it will live forever. This flesh will die. So this is only here for a time, a very, very short time in the length of eternity. And you're thinking 80 years here.
But you got the church believing that the flesh is going to be reincarnated. If you want to actually believe, say what they actually believe. No, this flesh is going to pass away. It's corruptible. It cannot go into another existence. Well, it'll be changed, and it wasn't this to begin with. So even then, it's not the same flesh that it was before. This flesh that you have is going to die. It's going to die. It has to. If you want any part of the Father and the Son, it has to die.
Right. If you want to do the Father's will and give Christ to the nations, Christ to the rest of the people around you, Christ to the lost, then you have to die to the flesh. You got to take up your own cross so that Christ can be in you. You know?
The two disciples who were outside the city, and they went up, and there was a man begging. And they told him, was it money and riches we do not have, but what we do have we give freely? And they told him to stand up and walk.
Mm-hmm.
What did they give him? Truth. They gave him the truth. They gave him the Son. They gave him the Spirit that they have, because that's what they received.
Yep.
Freely you have received, freely give.
Yep.
You were given the Spirit freely. You give it freely to those who will accept it.
And that's what we're doing. You see, the truth is the Son. The truth is Christ and the Father in Christ. And once you see that there's a separation between spirit and flesh, you see that the Spirit of Christ, which is the Son, the Father in Him and He in the Father, and you realize that you have both of them in you, because that's why Yeshua said when Christ was talking, and He's saying His prayer, He said, Father, I am all in you, and you are all in me, and I wish that we would be all in them, that they would have all of us. But what does the church do with that scripture? No, they're somewhere in heaven on a throne, and Christ is at the right hand of the Father, and they're in the kingdom. Where's the kingdom then? Because Christ said, I wish that we'd all be in you, so that means the kingdom is in me. right?
The kingdom is within us, yes.
Yeah. But you know what? They don't want to hear that. No, it's somewhere in the sky, way up there where you can't see. It's in us, right? And it's very aggravating to them because, like you were talking about, they build, and just like we did, we're no different.
No, we weren't. We wasn't any different.
Yeah. You build
the only difference is now is that we've actually found the Son.
Right.
That's the difference. We actually made it to where we denied all our own desires, all our own will, and accepted the Son and His will into our life.
Now that you're mentioning that, where did truth take you? We're starting now at March 1st of this year, 2019. What started happening to you and the things that you surrounded yourself with, as far as hobbies and things you did, things you watched, stuff like that? What started happening to you without any talking to people? It's just in your spirit. You're like, I got to do this.
I started getting rid of everything.
Right.
From day one, the moment I died, and then after the 3 days where there was this numbness for 3 days. Yeah. Right. I just started getting rid of everything in this life that I had any attachments to whatsoever. So, all the TV shows and stuff that I watched, I got rid of all of them. I got rid of everything. I got rid of everything that was separating me from the Father, basically.
Your subscriptions to things.
Yeah, all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And how did you feel from doing that?
I felt relieved.
Yep.
Peace. Because these things were taking up so much time that I could be doing what the Father's called me to do.
Right. And now out of your time awake during the day, what percentage of time do you is usually dedicated to the studies and to prayer and talking about the Father?
I would say 90% of it.
Yeah, I can vouch for this. This is what he does. This is what he does all the time.
90% of it. Even for the first month, man, I couldn't even get away from sleep without things constantly running through my mind and being woken up and them telling me things. Even though I wasn't tired when I awoke, it wasn't a distraction. It wasn't stopping me from sleeping. It's just weird how all that transpired. Yeah. And I'll testify to that too. There was no sleeping going on. I mean, it's not much now because I still, my mind is on those things. Yeah. I think that, go ahead and finish your, no, I'll go ahead and start talking about mine when you're done. So then, then I started actually doing what the Father's called me to do. Yeah. It wasn't hard. I actually enjoy doing it. Imagine that. I'm constantly happy, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mm-hmm. And then the crazy thing is when things do happen in my life, I pay them no never mind because in the end, none of those things even matter. None of it. And you still have to fight the flesh because the flesh still wants to get it all up in. Oh yeah. It wants to control your life still. It still wants to interact. It's like It's like the roach, man. You keep stomping on it, and it keeps on crawling away, and you got to stomp on it again. It crawls a little bit more. It's dead, but like the it's still twitching, but it's dead, right? That is the flesh.
Yeah, you rip the chicken's head off, and the body will still run around for quite a long time.
Right?
You gotta chase it down, re-kill it. Like,
but no,
that's what I'm
doing what the Father's called me to do. He's called me to do these videos and to go after the people He's called me to go after, to minister to them. So that's what we're doing.
I have one question real quick before I give my little testimony how I got into this, and it's very similar. You guys are going to see. Anything you were ever taught by a pastor or anybody in a church or a doctrine or an organization ever give you a desire to dive into the Word so strong that it took up the 90% of your life at a time break?
I'm going to have to say maybe.
Maybe. Okay.
Maybe. And I say that for this. There are times I've heard things preached that, there was days where I would go into the Word and be stuck in the Word for maybe 2 to 3 days, sometimes even a week.
Mm-hmm.
But then it would all stop.
Yeah, it didn't last.
It didn't last because once the Father showed me what He wanted to show me, in that time, I was done.
Right.
And I was only searching to see, for one, how this guy even came to his conclusions on what he did. And to find out for myself what actually the Word was saying. So even in my, but I mean, come on, man. When you go from that, right? Sometimes it would even be a couple weeks, but then when you go from that, and then it'd be a year later before I would actually get back into the Word like that again.
Exactly.
Like that. Exactly. It's not that I wouldn't be in the Word. I wouldn't be in the Word like that again. It was very scarce. Very scarce.
A lot of time in between the times you were feasting on the Word.
Yeah.
Like we're supposed to be doing. And to where now that's a daily occurrence.
Yeah, it's not even something I think about now. Before it would get to the point where I would get tired of doing it.
Yeah. Right.
Because maybe either I was finding out, or I found out what I wanted to find out, right, from the Spirit, or I wasn't finding out, and it would frustrate me, and I would leave.
Right.
And then, like I said, it could be 6 months, a year before I'd actually go that deep again.
Right.
Well, now it's every day, continually,
exactly.
and it's not even me doing it. That's the crazy part. It's not even me. It's not even me doing it.
No, and that's what you just said. You'd say something, you didn't find what you were looking for. You get frustrated and step out of it for a minute.
Yeah. And
because at the time we still thought, with all this fleshiness going on, that it was about us. And so I'm going to go ahead and if you're cool with it, I'm going to go ahead and start touching on mine a little bit.
I got one last thing to say.
Sure. Go ahead, brother.
We was talking about the kingdom, and this is what the Word says in Luke 17:20 and 21.
And when Scripture.
And when He was demanded of the Pharisees, when the kingdom of God should come, He answered them and said, the kingdom of God cometh not with observation.
You can't see it, right?
It's not something that's of observation. There is no return of the king that's observable.
Absolutely. You're not going to see some giant place coming down and falling the earth. Big old earthquake happen. The kingdom is within us if we have ears to hear, if we have eyes to see.
So 21 is, neither shall they say, lo, here, or here it is, or lo, there. No, it's over there. For behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Plain as day. Plain as day.
Yeah.
Like, you can't get past it saying it.
So just so people are like, oh, the heretics, they're making up stuff. Where's that at?
That is King James Version for all you King James Version people out there. This is Luke 17, 20, and 21.
Luke 17, 20, 21. Interesting. And that's in Luke, where we just found out Luke wasn't a disciple of Jesus, which has been
he was not.
To us forever.
Yeah, I thought plainly he was one of the 12, even though every time they would go over the 12, his name was never mentioned. But I swore up and down he was one of the 12. You can't knock Luke.
Yep. No, he was a disciple of Paul.
He was a disciple of Paul.
Imagine that.
Well, I will say this. Luke is right on the money when he said this.
Yep. That was from the Father, people. That's
now we're gonna have to. What's it mean when he said this?
That's for you to find out.
What's he trying to say?
Precept by precept. Mm-hmm.
What's he trying to say?
Everything is precept by precept. There's a little bit of truth in with all the other nonsense. And you're like, oh, he said some of the Bible is nonsense. Yes, I did. Because how can you have truth if there is no lie? And how better for the devil to deceive the people that were thinking they're following the Father, but to put mistruths and twist the truths in the very book we're studying to know about the Father. It only makes sense, people. It only makes sense that the great deceiver would use our own study, our own teaching.
Hey. You know those pagan Catholics, they were inspired by God.
Yeah. The God of this world. That's why half the Bible's missing, y'all. Yeah,
we went from 81 or 80 to 66.
Yeah. And we're going to talk more about
that. Isn't even all the scrolls that were actually written. That's the ones that's the ones they decided to give us basically to shut us up.
Yeah. They said over in Israel, and there's archive rooms where there's thousands and thousands and thousands of writings.
And they got the same stuff at the Catholic Church. The
Vatican.
The Vatican in Rome, yep.
Yeah, and these things, but we're to be told that that's not of use. That's not any good for us. It is meaningless to us. I believe if we had all these books together and could study them all, we know exactly how to live our daily life second by second. Like all the mysteries would be revealed. You know what I'm saying? But we're getting more into things like that because there are some other books that we have been reading and stuff, and just makes things so much clearer. And if you're in the Father and the Father's in you, you have the Spirit of truth. You can discern whether it's right or not. And we've been able to look at these things in these other books. Like
you can't do that. You can't do that.
Yeah. That's what they say, man.
You can't do that. You can't read any other book. You got to read the authorized King James Version that was never authorized by King James.
But, I can tell you of what I think about King James. Okay. King James.
Well, he was inspired.
By the God of this world.
All I'm saying is this, right? All I'm saying is this.
Yeah.
It's the authorized King James Version of the Bible, right? There's 66 books, and it was authorized by a man, which is another 6.
Amen.
Just think about that. 66 books, and this version was authorized by a man whose number is also 6.
Yep. That's the same number you come up with when you're talking about the United States dollar. Interesting.
Okay, we had communication issues right there, and my headset fell out. So whatever you said, I didn't hear.
Your headset, my family, a lot of distraction.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how much clearer you could be if you say, I'm going to do a podcast right now. Can I please have silence?
Silence, I say, silence.
All right, while it is quiet for this time being, I guess I'll talk a little bit.
Go ahead.
Basically, I got saved at 18. Going into the beginning, I was late 17.
Was it at an old-time revival?
It was an old-timey church. Old-timey fire and brimstone Pentecostal.
Ooh.
I was raised Pentecostal. My dad is a Pentecostal minister. Very much into the Pentecostal doctrine. Very much. And so I got saved for the first time at 17, almost 18, and it's because I went to a church my parents didn't attend, and all of a sudden I had a name. I wasn't Reverend Walker's little boy. I wasn't, Brother Walker's son, Brother Sister Walker's son. My name was John. Right? Everybody called me John at the time. Everybody still does. I don't mind. And I got saved for myself, and not because somebody was teaching about hell, and I was afraid to go to hell. Because I also grew up in a Christian school where at least weekly somebody taught about hell, and all of us ended up getting saved.
Miss Garlock.
Yeah, Sister Garlock. She preached good about hell.
Oh, I loved her. I did.
Me too. And now somebody's calling in. I'm going to ignore it again. I'm sure there's a way to shut this off to where people call it, sends them the voicemail, but I'm blind. I don't know how to do that. But so this was quite a long time ago. And throughout my Christian walk, there were ebbs and flows. There were hills, there were valleys. There's times that I wasn't paying attention to the Father at all.
Oh, same here.
You had times where you got some, exactly. And, I got to a situation where I was having some issues with my health. Well, at first, I was living in a car, and then I got a great job at a bank. And so I was working for the Beast.
Oh, yeah.
And I was making great money.
Money.
Yeah, it's like Ted DiBiase showed me the money. And
everyone has a price.
Yeah, and my price was met. I got to admit, he knew my price. Excuse me. So, looking for the bank, making good money, got a vehicle, got a house. I would go out and do stuff and purchase things, and I never even checked my bank account because I knew it was good. I knew it was there.
Right.
And then,
so you're saying you had financial security, huh?
Financial security, not spiritual security. Financial, that was fine.
Oh, yeah.
Right before the bank bubble busted, and I started having real bad issues with my back. I found out that my exercising and stuff had crushed my own disc, two of my discs in my back, and I took off some time, short-term disability, to get my back fixed. And during that first month off, I ended up getting an infection in both of my eyes and lost my eyesight. At this time, I was very upset with God. Very upset. And I told him, if this is the life you have for me, then effing kill me, right?
So is this your Paul moment of on the way to Damascus?
This is my Paul moment. I was Paul. I had the spirit of Paul at that time. So it took a long time to work through that and see that it wasn't the Father, because the Father is love. And he started dealing with me at that time about love.
Right.
So in my darkest time, when I fell in prison, Joshua was talking about being in the guard shack, in a little room locked up, it being in his place, locked up, he's always secluded. I secluded myself in my bedroom for 5 years. 5 years of my life, I only left my bedroom to go use the restroom, literally.
Right.
I was having so much problem with my back and my legs, and then I just went blind. It was very disorienting. And so during that 5 years of seclusion, the Father was teaching me about love and about grace all the time. Love and grace, love and grace, love and grace. And that was kind of the starting of me seeing truth. And because the Father only has one command. And Christ said it, that you love the Father with everything and love your neighbor as yourself.
Right.
And we've come to that conclusion here lately, that is the only command of his.
Yes.
All of his attributes prove that he is only about love. Love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, meekness, temperance. There is no wrath in there. There's no destroying a whole town of people because they don't believe the way you believe.
Right.
Even though that's what we see in the Old Testament.
Right? Yes.
But if you look at those attributes of that God in the Old Testament, that God is the enemy. That's not the Father.
Right.
He would not do that. That does not show his attributes. Because if that was his attributes and I made after him and he's in me, then why am I not killing everybody that I see that doesn't believe the way I believe?
Right. You should be able to murder people who don't believe the same way you do. And, oh, wait, there are religions that do that.
Exactly. Right. But it only makes sense, people. We're not saying anything here that it takes, a brain surgeon to figure out. Just listen to what's being said.
I do like something. I don't know if people got this from my testimony or not, but my thing was always doing the Father's will. Whatever he would ask me to do, and the times that he would speak to me, and I would go do those things, those are the only times I knew I had any assurance in my life that there was something real.
Yep.
So, for me, it was always about doing the Father's will. I never seen love. Not once. Yep. Not because it was never given to me. It's because I didn't see it.
Right.
I didn't understand it.
Yeah, for me, I wasn't focused so much on his will. I was being taught about love and grace.
Right.
And mainly love, because grace falls right into the love category. So we were both getting separate things at a similar time, right?
Yeah.
But something that were both part of the truth. And so leading up to, like I said, there was a lot of ups and downs. There was a lot of time where there was just nothing going on, right?
Right.
And if that ain't mind-numbing on its own, just wonder, like, well, Father, why are you going to tell me what you want me to do? Like, I want to know what to do. And then you know what to do for a second, and then that burns out, right?
Yeah.
So that wasn't it. That was something I thought of, obviously. So we get to the 1st of March of this year, 2019. And just like Joshua said, we died. We've been into truther movements. We've been into listening to stuff. I know when Joshua first started telling me about truther stuff, and the first time I listened to Alex Jones, and I heard this other guy, Richie from Boston. And the first time Joshua would bring this stuff up, I was like, man, Josh is off his rocker. I'm thinking, okay, God, okay. Like, I know he loves you, so I'm going to let this slide, because he'll get it someday. He'll eventually get there. He's a little messed up right now.
Mm-hmm.
But then I watched a couple of things on my own. And then I went back to some guys he was talking about. And I started seeing some truths. And things started getting put in place, and like the puzzle started getting clear.
Wait, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. Whoa. I think we need to go back a little bit.
All right.
Let's go back 5.5 years before today.
Yeah.
When you hit me up on the telephone.
Right.
Because of some things I was putting on Facebook. Some posts that I had on Facebook.
Yep.
Because that was really the start of this journey. Was that time period. Because it would be 3 months later where I finally told God, look, I want to know the truth. Mm-hmm. Show me the truth.
Right. Yeah, I noticed I started seeing some stuff like you were putting like some spiritual messages on Facebook. You know? Do you remember what those texts were? No. No, I don't. Yeah. One of them had to do with I think a guy at work. There was a guy at work, and I ended up finding out he wasn't even listening to the two guys. But this guy, I knew he was a Christian, and even when I wasn't a Christian, if I was around Christians, I would always respect him. And I just wouldn't say certain things in front of him. I wouldn't be vulgar. I wouldn't be that person. Even though I wasn't vulgar or anything like that much anyway. Besides that, but like I didn't want other people who was even around me doing those things. Right. And there's two guys who were talking and they were being real vulgar, and I almost got to the point where I was actually going to go over there and whoop the crap out of them. Because they were saying this stuff in front of a preacher. And I knew he was. Mm-hmm. And him just standing there being calm and just doing his job, and these guys are sitting there saying all kinds of nasty stuff and stuff they wanted to do with women and everything. And it almost around lunchtime, if somebody wouldn't have came and got the one guy, I was going to kick his rear end. But that, along with some other things, women I was dealing with, it got me to the point where I told the Father I wanted to know the truth. Right. You're pointing at when you started telling me a couple of things the Father said to you? Well, that would come because I told you that the Father I told you in July, I told you that the Father was going to be bringing women in and out of my life. And I would end up doing crazy things I would be in positions, not that I would do things with them, but I would be in positions with these women that I would never saw myself in before. But it was all because of things he wanted to show me about me. Right. Basically, he was telling me he was going to break me. Because I kept telling him for like 3 or 4 months that, look, I want to know the truth and do whatever you have to do to get me to the point where I serve you. Mm-hmm. So he did, and it sucked. And then that was just the start. That little did I know that was just the start of the turnaround for the next 5 years to actually get here. Right. So, I remember talking to you one time, and you started telling me I was about to go through a time. 3 months. Through a time. 3 months. Yeah. It's always been 3 months with me. Yes. He was telling me how the Father was saying I was going to go through a time, and it was going to be tough. Yep. Little did I know how tough. Oh, and I also told you that you would end up in a place that you didn't know how you got there, but it was exactly where the Father wanted you to be. Yep. Well, the place I ended up was jail. How you got there is a crazy story. I'll go ahead and throw it down. So we had moved into a new house. My dad and mom lived there. And
yeah, you haven't even been there a week. It was like the first or second day, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. Very, very early on there.
So being blind, you haven't even mapped out the house yet.
Didn't even map the house out. I don't even have it memorized yet. And I could never sleep. Well, my mom, bless her heart, she had these Ambien sleeping medicine that she never used. So I thought it'd be a great idea to try one of the sleepy pills, which I had already known that did not work well with me. Okay? I already knew this, but see, we get so caught up in the flesh and what it desires, and we have to have sleep. Right. Oh my goodness, we're going to lose our mind if we don't get sleep. And so I, trying to respect my flesh and help it, I was like, Mom, can I get one of those? And so she handed them to me, and I had them in my room. Now, I don't know how many I even ended up taking. I know one. At some point, I got mad over what was cooked for supper. Mind you, this is 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm told. Because I lost 3 days. I lost the whole 4th of July weekend. Family went places, had get-togethers, at other family members' houses and stuff. And I don't recall any of that. I was home in some kind of weird Ambien stupor. And so 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was June when I told you that. It was June that I told you that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was the 1st of July because it was the 4th of July holiday.
Yep.
Earlier during the day, my mom had come to my room. I guess I said some unpleasant things to her. She left my room and fell down in the kitchen because she had a stroke and she completely fractured her leg or femur. And so she was taken to the hospital. I didn't know about it. 3 in the morning that night, early the next morning, 3 in the morning, cops were called on me because I got mad at, I don't even fully know what I was mad about. Something to do with a dinner. And I took a knife and stabbed my kitchen cabinet to death. And it's so stupid now. Like, why you want to stab it at the cabinet? Well, it was there. And so then my sister called the cops on me, and I was taken to jail. I come to sometime in the next couple of days in jail, and being blind and not knowing where you're at, it was disturbing. I then got like a restraining order, so I couldn't see my family and my nieces and nephews, which was very hurtful. But in this time, after about a day feeling sorry for myself, I started praying and talking to the Father. And there was such an oppression in the jail. You need to think that it's probably always like that. And I started having Bible studies with the guys. They found out that I was a Christian. And then my dad was a minister and stuff, so they asked me questions about the Word. I was doing what I could for them, studying the Word and stuff, and there was even a child molester. I didn't know he was a child molester. And some of the guys got with me and they said, "Hey man, you're cool, we're like hanging out with you and stuff, you're a nice guy." They kind of, took me into the whole criminal gang there.
They took you to the underworld.
Yeah, took me in the underworld there. And they said, "But that dude you have Bible study with, Bible study with the rest of the guys is cool, but that guy, he's a chomo." And they advised me not to go around and make me look bad. I could not stop helping the dude when it came to the Word. If he was seeking the Word and he was seeking truth, I wanted to help him, right?
Yep.
And that's what Christ would have did. He got called all kind of names. They called him a drunkard. They say, "Oh, he's with the harlot," all this stuff, because he didn't hang out with the most favorable people. And you can see it all over in the New Testament. where he was getting things said about him because of who he was with. So, listen, Christ would have been there to teach the kid the truth, right? No matter what he did, and how disturbing and how ugly it is to us, right? Because it is ugly, right? We're not going to get. There's no way do I say what he did was anyway a right thing. It's sickening, right? But he still has a soul, and Christ would have been there for him, so I had to be there for him. And needless to say, I ended up getting out of there. The judge never let anybody out after, a week. You always have to wait for your next court date, stuff like that. But he let me out, to the surprise of everybody there that was in jail with me, because they knew the judge. They'd already been to him several times, and they knew what he was like. They were all convinced I was stuck there longer. But then I got out. And then just to find out when I got home to pick up some clothes, because mind you, I can't be at my home anymore. I have a restraining order.
Yep.
Since there was a knife involved, DFS said if he's anywhere near the kids, you'll lose your kids. So of course my sister picked the kids over me. So I had nowhere to go. I had to get my clothes. Then I was told that not only did Mom break her leg when I didn't know what was going on before I went to jail, but that she had 6 more strokes after the initial one, and she was on life support. I am a very big mama's boy, always was. No shame in it. It's just the way it is, right? And so I went to jail. I took an Ambien, and then my whole life turned upside down, basically.
Yep.
And now I'm awake, and I'm aware of what's going on, and nothing in the world is the same. And it was definitely so I'm saying when somebody prophesies to you that you're about to go through a bad stretch, brace yourself, because you don't know what the enemy's coming at you with.
Right.
But listen, the Father will work out everything for the good.
And he did, even in that situation.
Even in that situation. And I got to pray, and I felt an oppression come off that jail. I got to minister to some of those young guys. I had their numbers for a long time until they either just, after a while, not everybody keeps the same phone number, so I've lost contact over the years. But it was a really good thing. And the stuff with Mom, go ahead.
Yeah, so the stuff that was going on with your mom, this is why he was in jail. All these things were happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there was even questions or whether or not she was even going to make it. And he was still in jail, and you kept on telling everybody in the jail, no, I got to get out because I got to go see my mother.
Yep. And it was just really weird. There was a meeting with my family. My mom's brothers and sisters came down from up north, and they had meetings at the hospital about unplugging her or not, unplugging the ventilator.
And what happened? Before you went to the hospital, you called me.
Yep. I called Joshua, before I went. He said, man, everybody there is grieving. Everybody is in their emotions right now. And rightfully so. It's a hard time. Ain't nobody knocking nobody for being emotional. It's not a lesson. But remember, we're not supposed to be just about the flesh and blood. We are spirit. So we had to fight through those emotions and get to the truth. And the truth is that everybody was in their emotions. Yep. And there was nobody praying. It was too hard to even pray for some of us, right?
Yep.
So Josh said, you need to go in there, clear the place out, and with nobody in there, put your hand on your mom's stomach.
Yep.
And tell her to get better.
Yep.
Tell her she's healed. Tell her she's going to come through this.
Yep. And I also told you that that she would, and I also told her she would walk out that building.
Yep. Yeah.
And the way that happened was even crazy.
Yeah. Which part was that?
That she would actually walk physically out of the building, where she actually had to get up out of the wheelchair because it wouldn't go through the door. she had to take 2 steps outside.
Yep. Yeah, she had to get into the little buggy seat for the van.
Yep.
To take her to the nursing home. But it was crazy because they were trying to say, she was brain dead. But when I was talking to my mother, I had her hand and she used her thumb and she was doing a circle on my thumbnail. Right? She was making a perfect circle and kept doing it. And later on, after I prayed, I went back to the waiting room, the ICU waiting room. And the nurse came and got us because Mom had got up and pulled the tube out of her throat. Right. And then so they strapped her arms down, put the tube back in, and this person that's supposed to be brain dead set up, got her hand close enough to where her arm was strapped down to where her hand could grab the thing on her mouth, and then threw herself back and pulled it out again. So as of that night, they just put her on oxygen, and they left her on that. The next morning, she didn't even have oxygen on. Right. God can do, the Father can do great things if you believe and if you ask. My mom got better a little by little. It took her a little while to start talking. She never did talk super good at all, but she got back to the ability to communicate. Mm-hmm. She was around for 3 more years. 3 more years. And it's what? I needed it. Just personally, I needed it. If she would have passed away then, I wouldn't be here. And Joshua knows this too. I wouldn't be here. Because along with the troubles I had with the back and everything like that, I got addicted to pain medication. And it became a very, very big monster. And I used to say, like when people would say, oh, it just happened. I didn't realize it. I just ended up being addicted to it. And I was like, that's crap. You knew it was coming. You did it on purpose. Now, I could say, because I can testify to the fact, I didn't know it was happening until it was there, right? Until I caught myself taking too many, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a drug addict, and I'm a Christian. And how does those two things go together? And you couldn't tell nobody about it because then you'd have the shame of telling somebody. Right.
And then them condemning you and telling the whole church. And
Yep. So you keep it quiet and you stay in that pit of despair and darkness. Yep. Alone. Right?
That's the one thing. The one thing the church does have down to a T is judgment. Condemning people.
And they teach us to do it to ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a big thing, too. They teach us to condemn ourselves. And let me say, people, we're going to get into some teachings where you're going to see that the wrath that's poured out upon us later on, that comes from us. Yep. The Father is not going to judge, and Josh has scripture on that. And then he said he saved that for the Son. We automatically assume he's talking about Christ. He's not talking about Christ. We're sons of God too. We're the ones going to judge ourselves. We're going to be accountable for every idle word. The Bible talks about it.
You reap what you sow.
You reap what you sow. We're going to be under the judgment that we placed upon ourselves. And even if Isaiah or Jeremiah, one of them talks about when we're not loving people, we're storing up wrath
for ourselves. Yep. We're storing up our own wrath.
Yep. Yeah. That's where the wrath of the Father comes at the end. He's
giving you what you want. If you want to be judged, He's going to give you the judgment that you want.
Yep. Judge not that ye be not judged. If you judge another, you're going to be judged in the same measure.
Yep.
And how do we and where's that wrath come from? That judgment come from? It comes from us and our decision to judge somebody else. We must love people. I'm going to start preaching about something else. That's all right, though. We got our testimonies. We've got some truths embedded in them. And that's good. Needless to say, we did eventually get to May of this year. or March of this year.
March, yeah.
Yeah, March. And when Josh said that, he died to the flesh, he died. We absolutely died. At the same time he was getting rid of subscriptions to Netflix and this and that and everything, I was dragging everything out of my closets and all kinds of stuff I own and giving them to my nephews, just throwing them away, just getting rid of everything for no reason. And I was all about my collections. Right?
Oh, was you ever?
All about my stuff.
You and those Beanie Babies, jeez.
They're going to be worth a fortune in another 50 years. Yeah. So at the same time he's clearing out, I'm clearing out. And I don't know why. Just had to do it. And like he said, about for like 3 days, there was a numbness.
Yeah.
There was like nothing made real sense. They're just kind of floating. Just going day by day. Just, I don't feel nothing. Like this world, it means nothing to me. We kept saying it to each other. This world, dude.
It means nothing.
Nothing means anything. And it was about the third day that all of a sudden you start seeing the truth. Start realizing that we just received truth. We'd always been looking, and we started receiving truth, and things just started coming in hot, like one after another. This truth, that truth, this truth. If you are a Christian and you haven't got
the renewing of the mind too. The renewing of the mind was instant.
Yeah.
It's not something we done. The Spirit done it to us.
I remember calling Joshua and saying, dude, I don't believe in the death penalty anymore.
And I started laughing because I said the same thing.
And those things happen. Like, we don't know what we even believe until we think about it again and notice that our belief about it changed.
Yeah.
In the twinkling of an eye, imagine that. In the twinkling of an eye, everything changed.
Yeah.
You're a new creation. And the Bible talks about how you're a new creation.
Yeah. All old things have passed away.
All things have passed away. Behold, all things are new.
All things are new. Yeah.
Your thought process and what you feel and think and believe about things are now being ran by the Spirit and not by the flesh. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. I want to say something to any Christian out there that if you haven't got a revelation this week or even this month, I'm saying you need to dig in and find the truth, because, dude, if I don't get a revelation every day, I'm going to start thinking twice about where I'm at, right?
Yeah, I don't think I can look at anything, read anything, watch anything, and there not be a truth in it.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
Yep.
The Father will speak on something.
Yeah, because He's in everything, everywhere. Yeah. He's everywhere.
The truth is hidden among the lies.
Absolutely. Yep. So, I don't know, I just want to encourage people. There's things that we're saying, and you're like, oh my gosh, Johnny Walker sent that. Oh my gosh, Joshua David sent that. I know both of them. I can't believe it. Listen, we've already been told by loved ones that we're following Satan. Well, no, you're following Satan. I'm following you. I'm not cool enough to follow Satan myself.
That was your family. My family told me I was following Hindu gods.
That's right. Yeah, you're a Hindu. I'm following you, following Satan.
Mm-hmm.
What's those?
We're a traveling band.
Yeah. I'm more for those Congo lines. Congo line, that's what the devil's Congo line. And listen, it is what it is, people. We're laughing because it's absurd. Because we know better. I've never been so much in the Word in my life.
And the reason why those people say those things is because they haven't found the truth. And in some ways, they're jealous that we have. Whether they come out and say that or not.
Jealousy. It's a little bit of fear.
Because they're still holding on. Look, man, I'm just going to say it. And this is going to be the first video where I actually say this the way I want to.
Let it in.
They are following doctrines of demons, plain and simple. And if they would ever get their revelation of who Christ was and what he said, they would come to the same conclusions about all this as we have.
Yeah.
The same conclusions.
And I ain't mad at him. We was one of them too. Yeah. The difference is we didn't stop. We didn't stop trying to find truth because no matter how far we went down the rabbit hole, we knew that there was more, that what we had wasn't the whole picture. Yeah, I didn't. Now, granted, people, I didn't look for the rabbit hole. Josh tripped me and I fell down. Remember, I'm following him. In the conga line.
Oh, yeah. I lassoed you and fell down the rabbit hole, and you fell with us.
I'm blind. I didn't see it coming. But no, if anybody thinks that we're somehow exalting ourselves for seeing the truth.
No, I want everybody to have what we found. Yeah.
We're in no way doing that.
I am no better than anyone else.
No. I'm stuck in this sin suit just like everybody else. I had to struggle to find truth. It is a struggle.
That's our whole goal, right? That's our whole mission that the Father's called us to, is to get people to this. Because the time is at hand, and the time is short.
Yeah, and study yourself. Listen, quit listening to everything that's said from behind the pulpit or in Sunday school class. Am I telling you not to go to church? Maybe.
It depends. If the Father's telling you to go someplace because there's a truth that he wants to show you there, I'm all for that. But you should not make the pastor of your church a god, where he knows all, where he is the end all be all. He's not. The Spirit of truth. Well, I felt the Spirit when he spoke. Exactly. When he's speaking and you feel the Spirit, it's not him. It's the Spirit speaking to you a truth.
Yeah.
And whenever you don't feel that, whatever he's saying, count it as a lie.
Yeah.
And I say that not to say that it is a lie. I say that because at the point you are in your life now, when the Spirit speaks and you receive it, you need that specific truth in this moment.
Right. That might be truth for you later. And I know that's hard to understand for people, but we're all in a different walk. We're all searching out our own salvation with fear and trembling, is what the word says. What's truth for me today, it may not be truth for Joshua today, but it might be truth for him later. And something that's truth for him today may not be mine.
Right. And when we came together 5 years ago, and you was on the gray stuff, and I was on the doing the Father's will, dude, it was almost 4 years where you kept on saying one thing and I kept on saying the other. And
we're screaming our things that the Father was teaching us at each other, and almost bumping heads about it, not knowing
constantly.
They work together perfectly.
More than we ever knew.
Yeah.
And then it was this year, right? It was this year where we kind of both started seeing the other person's point of view, and it took almost 5 years to get there.
Yeah. And then we very easily stopped talking because it was uncomfortable.
I wasn't going to stop talking anyway. There might have been times he was like, "I don't know, man. I'm going to pray for him."
You don't know how to love people,
right? Not at all. But that was my thing. That was the thing. That was the foundation of that my whole life had been built on, was that doing what the Father told me to do, because that's all I ever had. Right. Even the times where I was saved, and the only thing that I ever had consistently was when the Father spoke to me, I would do what he said.
Right.
And those were the only times I really felt like I was doing what I was called to do. There was a purpose, there was a plan, and that he was real.
Yeah.
All the other times where I'm just, going to church or doing whatever, helping the church and doing things, it was just like, okay, these are things that I'm expected to do because this is what someone is supposed to do, right?
Right.
But it was only when the Father would speak to me and I knew that what he was telling me was real.
Yeah. And listen, if anybody, go ahead.
And the crazy thing is, through all that, the Father sticks me with someone who is all about love. And personally, my father preached for 30 years, every sermon about love. And trust me when I tell you, I sat through all of them. And it just wouldn't go in. There was things that were blinding me from ever seeing that if I didn't go down the path that I did, I would have never got to where we are now.
Exactly. And I wouldn't trade anything. I wouldn't trade jail. I wouldn't trade being blind. I wouldn't trade any of it because I am where I am because I decided to take the path here. Listen, could you avoid some of the stuff? Maybe. I ain't going to say that some of the stuff wasn't avoidable, but I can't change it because I'm here, right? I'm here, and that's all that matters. I see the truth.
Right.
And nothing can ever take away the truth that I see. It's like, Derek's fiance. Can't remember her name. Another brother that we listened to. His fiance said, once she's seen some truth, she's like, even though the things disturbed her about what she found out, she said to her fiance, Derek, she said, you know what, Derek, I can't unsee what I saw. I cannot unsee what I saw. Listen, when you know the truth, and once you receive the truth, then to turn your back on that, it's like in Luke, where it said you put your hand to the plow and then turn back. And the word says if you do that, you're not fit for the kingdom.
It also says if you love your father more than him, you're not worthy. If you love your son more than him, your mother.
Yeah.
If you love anything in this life and desire anything, whatever you desire in this life in and of yourself, if you desire that, whether it be money, riches, fame, power, just getting by, enough money to provide for your family, wanting someone to love you, whatever the idol that you created, because it is an idol, it's your desire, it is an idol.
Yeah.
If you love that more than him, you're never going to see the truth. You're never going to find the truth because that idol is standing in your way, blocking you from the truth. And until you remove that idol and say, you know what, I don't want this, I want the Father more than these things of this world, you cannot die to yourself. You will not find the Son. And I'm very, very cautious that on the day of judgment, he will say, I never knew you.
Yeah. If you don't know him, he don't know you.
Exactly.
There's one thing in relationships that I've always wanted when I've been in a relationship with a woman. I always wanted to get to know them.
Yep.
And I've had several that they were all about getting to know me, just asking me about me all the time. There's one specifically. I didn't know anything about her because we spent every day talking about me. I was so sick of hearing about myself. And the fact that she thought it was awesome just to know me means she never knew me at all. Because if she knew me, she would know I wanted to know her also. And that's how it's going to come about at the end when you say, depart from me, I never knew you. It's because you really didn't know him.
Yep.
You said, I did all these things in your name. I cast out demons. I healed the sick. I prophesied. I seen people saved. I prophesied. And he's going to say, I didn't know you because you didn't know me.
Yeah,
you
I
didn't
never
know
knew
my
you.
attributes. You didn't know my son. You didn't know that it's about spirit and not about flesh. You didn't see anything that had to do with me. You were caught up in all these teachings, but you never knew me. So I don't know you.
And then he's going to say, depart from me, you workers of lawlessness.
Yeah. The whole time you're trying to follow the law and the rules and everything that the religious establishment has set up.
Lawlessness. Imagine that.
And he
Lawlessness.
Because he had one law, one command.
Yep.
That you love him with everything.
Yep. And for those of you who think he doesn't have, and that somehow we're still under the 10 Commandments, why did he tell the Pharisees that they wasn't guilty of any sin until he came and spoke to them? Because they hated him.
Yeah.
And he told them the truth, and he hated them. So what in that word, hate, what law was they breaking? His command of love your neighbor as yourself. That's the command he was breaking. And if he would never come, they would have never been sinners. I don't care what you believe. That's what Christ said.
Yep. That's what he said. That's what he meant. Until the truth came, how do you know that there was a lie if you had never seen the truth? How do you know you were in sin unless you see what the absence of sin looks like? Until
the law came, no sin was accredited to anyone.
Yep. And we're talking about the Father's law.
Yes.
Of love.
The law of love.
When it comes down to it, people, the only law we have is love. 4 letters. You gotta live your life. You gotta do his will. Because even Jesus, the man, showed us how to do the Father's will. Take up your cross, die to the flesh, follow the Son.
You have to believe who he is, faith in the Son and the one who sent him.
Yep.
You have to, once you do that, once you believe who he actually is and who sent him, you're going to get the love. It will be imparted to you, because when that spirit of truth comes inside of you, it is that spirit. That is the renewing of the mind. It is love that comes inside of you. That love will call you to do the will of the Father, which are the works of love that he said.
Yeah.
Taking care of the widows, clothing people who need it,
feeding
the hungry, all those things. Those are the works and the will of the Father. He also has specific tasks he wants you to do, which is tell people the good news. And then and it becomes by faith, and then the love, then the works, then you have life.
Yeah. That's good stuff, man. And I think that you're going to have to split this up into like 45 different segments.
No, I think I'm just going to leave it one big, long podcast.
Yeah, I think we're about 2 hours. You want to wrap it up there?
If that's what you feel like you want to do.
I think we're going to wrap it up. Listen, everybody, if you've made it this far, we want to thank you. We want you to know that you're in our prayers, you're in our heart. We love each and every one of you. Go ahead and do the whole routine. You know how everybody does it. Like, share, subscribe. We don't care about the numbers, but we want to grow this as we want it to be a ministry that's going to reach people. So if you do all that, hit the notification bell so you know when we put up some more. I know Joshua's like the Energizer Bunny with these videos already. And he's got more coming. I am going to jump into some videos. We're going to do some videos together. I'm going to do some separately on my own like he's been doing. We just want to get everything out to you that the Father has shared with us. And he shares a lot. I'm telling you, when you really want to know about him, he'll tell you all about himself.
Then he will.
He's totally willing to communicate with us and to share himself with us anytime, day or night. Especially night too. We wake up all the time.
Yes, constantly.
Constantly. But so anyway, I believe we have an email.
We do. LastAwakeningWarriors@gmail.com.
LastAwakeningWarriors@gmail.com. Don't forget, if you need anything, just go ahead and hit us with an email, and we'll try to answer any questions that you guys may have. Give us a little bit of time. We're not Bible scholars. We're not theologians. Thank the Father we didn't get corrupted with all of that. Because there'd be a lot more to have to shed. So, anything you want to say real quick, Joshua?
Yes, like I always end all my videos with, do the will of the Father.
That's right. So with that said, if you have ears to hear and eyes to see and hear what the Spirit of Truth has said. Be blessed, people. Thank you.